We are now in 2023, hopefully a better year to us all, but Overwatch 2's original promise, the PVE and story mode, was the reason of its creation, right? We know that Overwatch 2 is supposed to be a paid expansion to Overwatch 1, but due to Blizzard's very hectic, chaotic development team and business decisions, we are now here, and 2023, we are supposed to get Overwatch 2 story mode / PVE. What can we expect? Will it be open world? Will it be crazy amount of depths? How much story can we expect? Or will it be like the Halloween event with some very boring 2D basic missions? Well, let's get into it. Now, the first thing I want to get out of the way immediately is the debate on whether it's going to be monetized or not. I previously made a video about the PvE. It was called Will Blizzard Get Greedy with the Story? And for some reason, overwhelming amount of comments just assumed that for sure it's free, that like 100% the story is free, but I can't find a single thing that confirms either or. Like, we actually have no idea how Blizzard will approach story and the monetization of it, and maybe it will stay purely cosmetic or not. We literally have zero idea, so I need people to understand that immediately. We have no idea what will be behind or not behind a paywall. The next question would be the depth of the story, and don't worry, we'll get to the structure in just a second, but the depth of the story seems somewhat promising. Now, this is something I was skeptical about in my original video. However, since then, we got the beautiful release that's a little bit sarcastic, of Ramattra, right? It was obviously messy, but regardless, Ramattra as a character is pretty freaking badass with an amazing trailer and clearly some depth in his story. And they went ahead and confirmed basically right away that Ramattra x Zenyatta would be a story plot in the upcoming PvE. We will actually get to explore Ramattra and Zenyatta's relationship and what made them both who they are today. That is very good depth. But depth on writing is different than execution. So what's the execution going to be like? And this is where information can get muddy, because really the footage we have is ages old, years old at this point. And I know for a fact that a lot of it will be highly changed by the time it releases. With that being said, I'm going to assume that the story and PvE structure will be broken down into two subsections: the main plot and sub-story, as well as the RPG grindy element. And these two are most likely still going to be in the game. They were kind of explained way back when, and I assume, for especially in the new business model, this will still be relevant. So let's take a look at both. Now, what you're seeing in the background right now is actually the Toronto map expanded. So that's something you need to keep in mind. The world as we know it is going to open up a ton, right? Like it's going to, each map will be way more open. It's like little open world subsections in each game. And how do we access these, in my opinion, might tie back to the monetization. I think if they're going to do both paid and free, again, please know this is speculation, if they're going to do both paid and free, the truth be told, I think the free one will be the opened up maps with a lot bigger amount of area to explore. However, there will be highly replayable missions that tie into the RPG element, as you could have seen right there in the background, the abilities as well as the ability tree. Now, if Blizzard is even a little bit smart, this should all be free. You would play these PvE missions that get added every season. These missions have sub-stories in a little bit of a more open area of the Overwatch maps. They have unique and enticing, engaging, and challenging enemies. However, the overall cutscenes and story thickness of them will most likely be light. Instead, they are focused on challenge. The harder the challenge, the more XP, the more available points you get that you can then spend on talents. You will then main a hero, let's say Soldier or Reinhardt or Mei, to upgrade their abilities, which will then transform them. This will most likely be the gameplay loop and the majority of the hours, quote unquote, or grinding that you would do in Overwatch. This just makes a lot of sense by default. Then the second section would be the much deeper cutscene, fully voice acted lore that would be way more enticing, as you can see in the background. Stuff that are completely cutscened missions. However, it will most likely not be that, I mean, in quotations, that black and white when it comes to the PvE / RPG grinding sections and the story. They're most likely going to come out in seasons. Now, what I'm afraid of, and is somewhat possible, is that Blizzard subsections these in which you have to pay for the deep fully cutscened stories, and then you just have the grindy PvE for free, or maybe it's all paid, or maybe it's all free. Again, no one knows so far. The million-dollar question actually comes on how everything mixes well together. There's the whole talent tree, there's the whole upgrading, and season to season, how does this affect each player? That, in my opinion, is the key point. Like, let's say I want to main Reinhardt in this season of the story. Do I kind of keep grinding him to get to the next level, because the next level is really hard, so I have to grind the level beforehand multiple times in order to upgrade his skill tree so that I can survive the level after? And then does that change per season, where different heroes will be available to grind out? That could kind of make sense. So there's a subsection of a story. 5 characters could be played, all properly cutscened and voice acted and showcased. I choose one of these heroes, and then inside the main story, there's the submissions in the more expanded maps in which I grind to get level to level, and I have to kind of upgrade myself. You know, there has to be some sort of high replayability in these, right? Because Blizzard can only add so much content. I assume when we see stuff like Mei here, right, where she literally turns into a snowball and rolls into the enemies, they can't just do that to every single hero in one go. That is highly unlikely, and to be honest, it would hurt the quality. Instead, I assume season to season, things will change. I do wonder if there's any carryover progress. That's, again, a million-dollar question. If I mained Reinhardt and upgraded him to the max, and then a few seasons later, maybe we go into his past and get to see him as a Crusader, do I get all those upgrades moved forward, or will they completely be separate, where the cutscenes, etc., are you just play the main hero, but that would also be kind of lame? You know what I mean? Like, the amount of unanswered questions in the end, of course, overrule the answered questions. That is a fact, and this video can only tell you what we know so far. And to that, well, we know that there's a very, very clean and pretty weather system that changes the maps heavily. We know that it is focused on replayability and a little bit of grindiness, which, you know, that matches Blizzard's motto for any story or PvE they've ever created, so obviously that makes a ton of sense. I know that they are working very, very, very hard on enemy design and how pretty and unique each one will be, and I think all of that, including the unique, of course you saw some of the unique abilities, are very, 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 very highly promising. If they mix this in properly and execute it well alongside deep told stories to invest us in the characters and the lore of Overwatch, I would genuinely believe that the good execution, where the package comes clean together with no over crazy monetization, would increase the longevity and survivability of Overwatch into the long term like crazy. My biggest gripe, my biggest fear is cutscenes are not plentiful. The story kind of falls short, and we kind of get more two-dimensional, like kind of like Junkerstein type of missions. That would be pretty bad. I'm a little bit afraid of that. I'm a little bit afraid of monetization being overstepped. Like, will they include the story for free, or heck, listen carefully. What if the battle pass includes the sections of the story for each season, right? Like, there's a lot of things Blizzard could do, man. A lot of freaking things. But you know I'll be here to absolutely roast the shit out of them or praise them if they do it right. Thanks for watching.